Hey guys, here we are in round 2 of the build-up to the rematch for Ward versus Kovalev. I want to do my intro a little bit. In my comments for the first round, there was a lot of talk in the comment section by some trusted viewers talking about like the dirty tactics in the fight from Andre Ward and what he's trying to set up and the kinds of things that he does, about like headbutts and holding and hitting, and I don't really want to focus my film study on that. I found that when I did my Golovkin Daniel Jacobs, I was trying to incorporate too many things into the film study, and in certain rounds I would neglect some aspects of some things and some aspects of others. And when I rewatched the videos, I was so disappointed with myself and what I did talk about and the things that I didn't when I went back to watch them. And originally I was in a little bit of like story, like I don't know if I've talked about this on my channel. I think I said it in the comments one time, but I saw a post-fight interview from that was posted online of one of the coaches that I used to train. I used to train at their gym, and they were talking about that Golovkin Daniel Jacobs fight, saying like, "Oh, Daniel Jacobs outboxed him, and it was easy, and Golovkin wasn't even in the fight, and Golovkin doesn't know how to set up his punches, and Golovkin's like all this stuff, all these negative things about Golovkin." And I don't have a problem necessarily with him thinking that Jacobs won, right? Whatever you like in a fight, you can quantify it if you want to. You do a film study, but I understand how difficult it is to score a fight live, right? Because there's so many other things that are interesting in the fight, especially how you're feeling as you watch it. So I understand when people get it wrong. You know, judges, they don't have the luxury of being biased with how they feel about something. They're not supposed to, but sometimes they're going to be the same way. But the things that did bother me were his talk about how Golovkin he didn't know how to set up his punches, and he was flat-footed, and he's just a puncher and all this stuff. So when I made my film study, I wanted to film study Golovkin and film study the breakdown of the fight and the strategy and how everything goes through, but also incorporate the scoring and incorporate like so many things that each round was not only too long, but they weren't complete, and I wasn't happy with the final product. So I want to talk about in these film studies, I kind of want to stick to just what's going on in the fight, like tactically, and breaking down the individual exchanges between the fighters and the swings in the fight, and what may or may not be causing them, and figuring those things out. But if you guys are interested in the dirty tactics and these kinds of theories, proven or not proven is up to you, right? There are a number of film studies on them. The Precise Presenter has one where he talks about a lot of the tactics that were used by Ward in this fight, and it's over an hour long. And I just don't want to incorporate that into my round-by-round breakdowns because it's just going to make my rounds like 30 minutes long. I will point them out, though, but I suggest if you guys are interested, he has a great breakdown of them, so go to his channel and check him out. You'll see him in the comments section. His videos are, fun and entertaining, and the things that he talks about when he talks about boxing, there are a lot of really interesting things that he talks about on his channel. So if you're interested, like boxing historian-wise, or like some of the film studies are really great, just check them out. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into this fourth round. So far, the first round was very tactically driven. Ward wanting to be on the inside, Kovalev wanting to be on the outside, and both of them using their knowledge of the lead hand to kind of predicate how they establish their game plan, right? And in this round, we're going to get to see a little bit more about the division between their respective knowledges of lead hand, not the jab, right? Because when you're probing, those are not punches, right? Anything that you throw at your opponent that's not a punch, right? Feinting, that's not a punch, right? This is just knowledge of your lead hand, right? Feinting and probing and baiting and all those things. It gets tossed in there and lumped in as a jab, and a lot of people, it stops a lot of people from understanding the different skills that you have available with your lead hand. So I kind of want to differentiate that a little bit and separate that kind of stuff so you guys can understand the differences, right? Paulie Malignaggi says it really interestingly. He says one of the reasons why Lomachenko beat the crap out of Gary Russell Jr. was so bad was because Gary Russell Jr. only had one speed on his jab. And what he's referring to is there are no feints, there's no probing, right? He just explodes out of his guard with a jab, and it made it really easy for Lomachenko to time him and stop him from setting up his punches. So that's one way of it being broken down, and here I am 6 goddamn minutes into my video, and I haven't said a goddamn thing. So anyway, let's get into the fight before it gets any deeper. So some feinting again, right? And they're respecting the feints, right? Keep moving. Some more feinting again. And, you know, Ward, here he is, feinting and then feinting to the body. And he gets a little low right here, right? When he comes out. You're not supposed to go that low, but it's okay. You know, no judges are really going to, like, call it and be like, hey, you shouldn't, you know, or the referee's not. But what I want to talk about right here, Kovalev, like, if you look at that jab, right, we're talking about speeds on the jab, right, as Paulie Malignaggi puts it, but this is not a real jab, right? As you can tell, those are not real punches, right? These are probes, and the beauty of these, and we talked about it in the last round, when your opponent doesn't react to these probes or these feints, right, then that's when you stick your opponent with the jab. But when your opponent does react, what they're doing is you're getting your opponent to put themselves out of position so that you can land another shot. So he gets Ward to react. Ward brings his hands up to control Kovalev, doing the right thing, right? But because Kovalev was setting him up for this, Kovalev is able to land that body shot. And I'm not sure if it lands, right? But it kind of looks like it doesn't. But that's not the point, right? The point is the technique that he's using to set it up, right? Probe, and he shuffles forward, right? He's closing the distance while he's doing them. And when he gets Ward to react, he throws the punch, right? He throws a different punch using the information that he gets from Ward to discern what attack he uses, right? So Ward has his hands up, and they're high, and they're away from his body, so he throws a body shot, okay? A high-level understanding of your probes, right? So far, Kovalev has used the one where he's probing, and he doesn't react to him, so he hits him with the jab, and then when he does react, he throws a body shot. So we'll talk a little bit about that in how it relates to Andre Ward's understanding of the lead hand and his intelligence with it. So here we have, after the body shot, which doesn't look like it lands, Ward says, okay, I got to control this guy. I got to be the one leading. I got to control the distance. So what does he do? Starts showing lead hand dominance, and he gets Kovalev to react, right? Kovalev sticks his hand out right after, right? But what he does is he ducks down, showing that he's trying to control the distance, but he doesn't necessarily know what to do when his opponent does react, because this is the exact same situation, right, that Kovalev was just in. The jab comes out off of the other jab, so he throws a body shot. So Kovalev does the same thing off of the lead hand dominance that he establishes, but Ward doesn't throw a punch off of it. He just gets down and gets defensive and then gives away lead hand dominance after he puts himself out of position. He ducks down, doesn't come up, and then Ward is able to throw another body shot after Ward puts himself out of position. So it's interesting how Ward is doing different things with his lead hand dominance, right? Not necessarily showing that he can react to what Kovalev gives him off of the lead hand dominance, but more like in this moment, he's actually probably just setting up a trap, particularly trying to get under the jab and like slide in like he did before, but not being able to, what do you call that? When he, unexpected, spontaneous, I can't think of the word. Anyway, you get it. Not able to like to fight on the fly. You know, I'll think about it later, and I'll probably feel real stupid about it. But this is really interesting. Let's go back, break it down a little bit. Kovalev feints him again, and Ward does not react. And then Ward adjusting, knowing that when he doesn't react to the feints, Kovalev is just going to throw a jab. And it kind of grazes Ward's head as Kovalev's probably changing the trajectory on it as Ward ducks down. But Ward's showing that he's a smart fighter and he's capable of picking these patterns up from his opponent, right? But what he does is he slips to the inside and then he kind of comes up with his head, right? And if you guys watch that Precise Presenter video that I was telling you about, it talks a lot about these kind of tactics and why he's doing it and what he thinks. But if you notice, once he comes up, Kovalev kind of controls him, gets a hold of his arms, and they're not really able to land any punches. But Ward, again, should not be coming up with his head right there. Anyway, feinting again. They react to each other's feints, and then Ward puts himself out of position. He bites on the feint, like he should, right? You don't want him not to. But then he kind of stays there, and as Kovalev, like, subtly closes the distance, right? Kovalev coming forward, and now at this point, right, Kovalev starts cutting the ring off, and Ward circles back the other way. But look at how close he has to get to Kovalev, right? And once Kovalev starts throwing this punch, if you look at Andre Ward's feet, he's not really in position to defend himself. He's not really in position to counter. He's not in position, so he kind of just has to eat that punch and pay the piper for getting out of position, right? If he were to throw a punch from this position, he'd be the one acting first, which means Kovalev would have the most appropriate way to counter him or to do something. But because he's not even in position really to do anything, this is kind of the best that he can hope for, is just taking a body shot and getting away, right? As you can see right after that, Kovalev commits to a jab and eats a counter because he was the one to act first, right? Now you might also say, why doesn't Ward feint? Why doesn't Ward do something? He's just already too out of position to be able to avoid any punches. He has nowhere to move back after the feint. He has nowhere to go. But he does land a good counter jab right there because Kovalev, just runs in with the jab. But now this is something I want to talk about real quick with Kovalev, right? Look at this jab, how he sets this jab up. He throws it out there, but it's not a real jab, right? It's kind of a probing jab. It kind of comes out, and he uses it to shuffle forward. Then he controls Andre Ward's head, right, and then throws a right hand. But he's just using it to kind of close the distance. It's not a hard punch, but that's like a probing thing because he's hoping that Andre Ward is going to react to it. And we'll see the dividends of that later. Right there. Andre Ward doing a good job, ducks down, and I think he makes Kovalev think that he's going to jab to the body, right, and catches him. I'm not sure if this jab actually lands. If you look at it, it kind of hits Sergey's glove, right, and then I think it hits his shoulder, and that's what pushes Kovalev back. But also, Kovalev doesn't really throw a punch either. He kind of controls Ward's head as he ducks down. I think Kovalev expecting Ward to kind of try to slide in off of that feint and close the distance. So he kind of trying to control him rather than punch with him in that instance. And now this is really interesting because I didn't notice it in the round one if he did it at all. So it feels like this is the first time Kovalev starts to move to his right, trying to set something up. You've got Ward feinting, shows him some feints, and then throws the body shot because Kovalev doesn't respond, right? Very high-level stuff. Some feinting again, feints, and then Ward tries to counter him, and kind of takes a little body shot. Nothing serious, right? And immediately, Ward trying to answer back, right? And while this looks ugly, right, he puts himself out of position with that body shot that he misses. Notice how he stays down, right? He's not, no, number one, he's probably not supposed to be bending down this far. That's not the point. But notice how he, after throwing the body shot and he's this close, right? He doesn't come straight up, right? If he did come straight up, he'd get kind of hit with a right hand. But he kind of stays down there waiting for Sergey to kind of throw a punch so he can kind of slip that punch. Being a little bit out of position, Kovalev probably could have made some feints and set some offense up, but really smart for Andre not to just put himself out of position. Now, this is really interesting, right? Ward's moving back, and he puts his hand up like this, right? Kind of like a stiff arm, but not really a punch, not really anything. And what does Kovalev do? He just jumps in and jabs him, right? And this kind of demonstrates a little bit of the difference in lead hand knowledge that each of the fighters has, right? Remember when, in the beginning of the round, when Kovalev did a very similar thing to Ward, right, by putting his glove out and then putting it out twice, and then once, as soon as Ward reacted to it, he put his glove out, Kovalev threw a right to the body. Well, Ward does the same thing here, even though he's moving back, and then Kovalev reacts, right? Gives him a little bit of feint, but Kovalev reacts. But Ward doesn't react to what Kovalev is giving him. He doesn't use the information that he pushes Kovalev into making. If Kovalev wants to close the distance around that jab, he's going to have to make a move. But Ward doesn't do anything with the control that he has over Kovalev, because he's the one dictating what Kovalev is allowed to do when he works his way in, and he kind of just eats a shot for it, showing that Ward doesn't have as much understanding of the power and the control that he has over his opponent and how he can take advantage of it. And then very clever from Kovalev again, right? The same jab where he just throws it out there, gets Ward to react to it, and catches him with the right hand to the head. So again, tosses the jab out there and then catches him with the right hand. And of course, Andre Ward has to say, nope, you didn't get me, but it's a good shot. Very well set up, very well played from Kovalev. And then again, the same jab, right? Gets Ward to react to it. He puts his gloves up, tries to catch him with the right hand, but doesn't. And I want to talk a little bit about this, right? So this is his jab. Look at how it comes, it stays out there, right? And then when he pulls back, it comes straight back. And then he throws this. And then look at this cross. Look at how it crosses his body, and his whole body turns when he throws it. That's because this second punch is not a jab. It's a left cross. There's a lot more power in it than just a regular jab. It's kind of like a straight left, but from the orthodox position. And he kind of catches Ward with it. Not super cleanly. I think it hits him in the chest, but that's not the point. That's not what I'm trying to talk about. Really interesting here. He feints him, right? Sees that he doesn't react, right? And then what happens? Ward thinks that Kovalev is going to jab at him, right? Utilizing the information that he just got. Remember, we were talking about, when they don't react to the feint, you want to throw the same punch. So Ward, showing that he's making an adjustment, he's reading the patterns from Kovalev, but Kovalev doesn't take the bait, and Ward acts kind of out of position. And that's kind of how I read that, right? Expecting that another jab is going to come, and Ward just kind of eats a right hand for it. Not really necessarily making a mistake, right? When you're reading your opponent, it wasn't the right thing to do, and he's doing the right thing, trying to read his opponent and pick up on his patterns. But in that instance, it just doesn't work out, right? And again, the times I didn't get to talk about this. Let's see, where are we? 1 minute 34 seconds. Okay, we'll go back real quick. Whoops, hit another button. Right here in this instance, when he probes, and then lands the body shot, maybe he does or not, and then he lands that body shot for sure. Ward's not doing anything wrong, right? This is not to say that Ward did anything wrong. He's doing the right thing, but because you're fighting these high-level fighters, this is going to happen. Kovalev puts in a lot of work, right, to land those shots, right? He puts in a lot of work, And although Ward is not necessarily making mistakes, he's getting hit. And that's just going to happen in professional fighting. Not everything that happens is the result of a mistake. Sometimes you just read your opponent wrong. Sometimes it just happens. It's professional boxing. But anyway, let's get back to the right hand. Again, the same little thing right here, the fake jab, right? It's not a real jab. And then slides in, expecting Ward to respond to it in a different way, and he doesn't wind up landing the shot. And then the same exact off the right hand, throwing the cross. And Ward does a good job. Notice how he just landed this combination. We just saw him land it, but now he just goes in, and Ward's able to get away from all of these shots. Because Kovalev in this particular instance didn't set them up. Maybe he thought they were set up because of all the times he has set them up before, and he thought that Ward would not respond well. But that's just sometimes what's going to happen. Interesting right here. Ward feints him. Wait, is there a feint? I thought there was a feint. Nope, just comes in, tries to get a hold of him, and he comes down with his head low a little bit again. We talked a little bit about that. We're not going to talk too much about it as he comes up, but they kind of tie up, and my video freezes. Again, Ward not really being able to work on the inside here because Kovalev, kind of wrestles him a little bit. Nothing too dirty, nothing too bad right there. But this is where things get really interesting. So again, there were a couple of instances where Sergey Kovalev started moving to his right? And here he is again moving to his right again. Okay, now he goes back to his left, feigning, an active guard, right? Dipping to his left, to his right, high guard. Really interesting, right? Not really feinting, just jabbing straight to the body, right? And then Ward says, no, you're not just going to hit me to the body. Shows him a feint. Right, boom, shows him a feint, hits him to the body too, right? And Ward's showing that he's really game, that he wants to, every time he gets hit, he wants to give back. It's a really interesting mindset. They talk about it a lot for fighters. They have that ego about them, right? You hit me with the right hand, oh, I'm gonna hit you with the right hand too. Even it up, show you, whatever. That macho part about it. So it's really interesting. But we'll get back to the film study. Kovalev feinting, right? Feint. Ward doesn't respond, so he catches him with the jab. Some good feinting, and again, dipping to his left, feinting, showing him different looks, and again, comes in with the body shot and gets Ward to counter him. Right? Doesn't land, but Ward showing that he wants to return fire, right? Showing that he wants to be in that fight too, not just let him take shots. Now this is really interesting. Again, Kovalev throws that jab, and look at how he leaves his hand out, right? Remember the other jabs where when he throws them, he lands and he connects, right? But he kind of sits there and leaves his head there, right? After he throws it, he's got this little shuffle, right? If you look at him real close, throws it and then ducks down. And this is his probe, right? We saw this earlier in round one, and right after what happens next, I'll show you. But now again, trying to disguise that little shuffle again. Probes with the jab again, takes a step, and then boom. Let's just break that down a little bit, right? Again, probing, not a real jab, leads his hand out there. And once Andre Ward reacts to it, he throws the right hand and catches him with a great shot. Now this is exactly what he does in this scene right here, except that Andre Ward doesn't take the bait, right? So it does the same thing, and Andre Ward doesn't react, right? It's exactly the same thing, right? He gets throws the jab and gets ready and waits for a reaction from Andre Ward. Just in this scene, he does the exact same thing right here. Waits for a reaction, but Andre Ward just moves back, probes him again, waits for a reaction, and then catches him with a huge right hand. And he shows that, using his probe and using his lead hand, right? Let's go back and talk about it. Remember when Andre Ward was sticking his hand out, controlling Sergey Kovalev, and then when Kovalev would make a move and act first, that he would actually just hit Ward because Ward wouldn't react in the appropriate way or in any way. Here he is showing him that punch, forcing Ward to react to it, right? The probing, right? And then he catches him and sets him up with a great shot. And that's kind of the difference between both fighters' knowledge and understanding of how powerful like lead hand dominance and the understanding of how to use your lead hand. Not your jab. Remember, that was not a jab. That was a probe. Anyway, going into it, going back into the fight, you got Kovalev showing him a jab, a feint, and then a right hand feint, and then going straight into that left cross again, right? And notice how he sets these punches up. This is a lot of work, right? Right? Boom, boom, and then a lot of work to land one punch, right? And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Ward respecting the feints because he doesn't know if Kovalev's just going to run out there and start unloading bombs, and if he doesn't respect the feint, then he's going to get knocked out. But then when when Ward ducks down here, boom, ducks down right here, he puts himself out of position, right? And Kovalev makes him eat a shot to the body right there. And then Ward, very smartly, doesn't take a second punch in a row and kind of ducks down. And now this is another one of those things that's going to be highlighted in that video I was telling you about dirty fighting. Andre Ward kind of got his hand on Sergey Kovalev's leg for some reason while he's wrapping his other arm around Sergey Kovalev's body. You know, things that he shouldn't be doing. And you'll see a little more in depth about why and what he's trying to accomplish during the course of that. But again, just comes in with a jab, you know. Really good right here. The jab. Ward blocks it. He expects the right hand to come right after, right? Ward puts himself out of position and then winds up taking a right hand to the body. Really smart, really great patience from Kovalev right there after he gets out of position. And then Ward obviously putting himself back into position after to kind of be able to defend that like grazing right hand. But again, you know, Ward, you know, being a little hurt. And now this is why you really want to set those punches up, right? He does eat that jab right here, but he misses the right hand right here, misses the left hand right here, misses that left hand. And notice none of those punches were set up off of any kind of setup of his punches, right? No feinting. He just comes in, throws the punch, throws the punch, throws the punch, right? And then as soon as he gets back to feinting, right, he probes and then catches him with a jab and starts landing his offense again as soon as he gets back to, you know, setting his punches up. Because against high-level fighters like this, you can't just walk in and throw punches at them. You know, at the highest level, it's easy for people to read those punches and see them and to react to them accordingly. Anyway, the knowledge in their ability to use their lead hand starting to show, and you're kind of getting to see a little bit of the separation in boxing knowledge and boxing skill between these two fighters as Kovalev is able to probe and make Andre Ward make a mistake, right? And that's what happened. He made him make a mistake and then made him pay for it. Good fighters capitalize on your mistakes. Great fighters make you make mistakes. Although Ward doing a lot of interesting things in the round, Kovalev really controlled and dictated this round with his feints and his probes, and kind of won this round pretty big. Anyway, like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you think. And let me know what you guys think of that video if you guys decide to check it out. Be warned, the video's not for everybody. I personally find it pretty entertaining, a lot of the things that go on in it, and how he makes his points are pretty entertaining to me. But anyway, like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you think.